Beautiful morning, dear children. Welcome back to our English class. I hope all are ready and with full of energy to start our class after a few days. Okay, now let's start our session. So, today we are going to start a new chapter, and the name of the chapter is The Tempest by William Shakespeare. So, first, let's see about the author William Shakespeare. Yes, first let's know about William Shakespeare. He is known as the father of English language. Do you know that? Yes. So he was born in the year 1564 and he was an English poet and a playwright. And he was born and raised in Stratford upon Avon in England. And he is regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and often called the Bard of Avon. And his plays have been translated into every major language and are performed more than those of any other playwright. And some of his famous plays are Hamlet, King Lear, and Macbeth. Yes, children, now take page number 18 in your textbook. We'll start the lesson. So, before that, we have come across the names of the books like the Harry Potter series, Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, Alice in Wonderland, isn't it? So, what are common in all these three books? Very good. It is about magic and fantasy, right? Okay. So, here in this play, William Shakespeare expresses the same magic. Okay. In this beautiful play, The Tempest. Now, let's start the lesson and find out what magic is inside. Okay, so one day Prospero, a magician, tells his daughter Miranda the story of their past, a story he had often started narrating before but never completed. And the story is about how they had arrived 12 years ago on the island where they now live. So, to know the story, read this adapted version of Shakespeare's play, The Tempest. Now, shall we read? Yes. Far away on a lonely island, there lived a wise old man and his daughter. And the man was Prospero. Okay, the first character what we are reading is Prospero, a magician. And the daughter was Miranda, a lovely young lady of 16 years. Okay, what are the first two characters? Prospero, Miranda. So Prospero knew so much of the art of magic that he was able to command the spirits of the island to obey them. Here, spirits means supernatural creatures such as the elves and the fairies. Okay, and the chief of these gentle spirits was Ariel, a lively little creature who was not only devoted to his master but also full of mischief. Okay, what is the name? Yes, Ariel. So now the third character is Ariel. And Ariel was invisible to all eyes but Prospero. So Prospero entrusted his most important tasks to him. Here, entrusted means made responsible for. Okay, and one day Prospero raised a fearful storm by means of his magic power, and he took his daughter to the beach to watch a ship struggling against the wind and the waves. And the ship seemed likely to sink at any moment, and those on board seemed likely to be drowned in the water. And hearing that those on the ship were human beings, as she and her father were, Miranda was filled with pity. Pity means here sadness. Oh, my dear father, she cried, if you have raised this dreadful storm, have pity on the people and aboard the ship. Please don't let them drown in the ocean. So don't be anxious, my child, her father comforted her. No one is going to be harmed. He paused and then went on. So Miranda, the time has come for me to tell you everything, father is saying. 12 years ago, I was the Duke of Milan. He was a member from a family of high social rank. They only used to be called as Duke, okay? And you, my only child, were a princess and my only heir. And even at that time, my chief interest was the study of magic. And I spent most of my time in my study with my books, he said. And father continued, I left the management of my dukedom, that means his government, to my younger brother Antonio. So, see now, note down the next character. So, the next character is Antonio. And I trusted him, but he turned out to be false and reckless, as you will see. And he plotted to rob me of my dukedom, and he was able to do so with the aid of his ally. Here, aid means help with the friendship of the king of Naples. And my cunning brother, who's a cunning brother here, Antonio, put us in a rotten boat without oars and sails and pushed us out to sea. And he thought that we would certainly perish. Perish means what is up here? Fortunately, a kind old man named Gonzalo saved us. Here, note on the next character, what is the name? Gonzalo. So he had placed in the boat water, provisions, and apparels. So these are the things needed. Okay, when you travel in the sea, food items and clothes. And something I most prize, namely my books on magic. Thanks to Gonzalo, we were able to reach this island of ours. Now Prospero continued, I shall tell you why I have raised this fearful storm. On the ship over there are my enemies and my brother Antonio and the king of Naples, and they will be cast ashore and I shall meet them face to face. Now he said, it is our turn. Let them come and meet me. We'll meet them face to face, okay? And they will be in my power and they will be at my mercy. Prospero felt silent and he touched his daughter with his magic wand and made her fall asleep. And Ariel had just appeared to tell his master what he had got with the passengers and the crew of the ship. And Miranda would have been alarmed if she had seen her father talking with the empty air. So now for that what his father did, he had put with the magic Miranda to sleep. And well, my brave spirit, how have you performed your task? Prospero asked Ariel. Ariel gave a lively description of the storm and the terror it caused and how the king's son Ferdinand was the first to jump into the sea. So note on the next character. What is the next character? Ferdinand. Who is he? The son of the king of Naples. And you have done well, my gentle spirit. Now go and bring the young prince here. My daughter must see him. Now Prospero smiled at some secret thought, and the story continues. Yes, now Prospero gave some other commands to Ariel and promised to free him after they had been completed. And Ariel obediently flew off to where Ferdinand was sitting sadly on the rocks. Come, sir, follow me, Ariel commanded him. And the young prince was astonished on hearing a voice coming from the empty air, but he obeyed. So, astonished here means surprised. So, Ariel sang a song to lead him to Prospero and Miranda, who were sitting in the shade of a tree. And Miranda saw Ferdinand first and could not believe her eyes. Except for her father, she had never seen a man before. Oh, father, look at that beautiful creature, she exclaimed. Is it a spirit? She asked. No, child, it's not a spirit. It eats and sleeps just as we do. It's a man from the ship we saw. He is wandering about looking for his friends. And Miranda was delighted, happy with the sight of the handsome young prince, and she thought all men had grave faces and grey beards like her father. And Ferdinand was astonished at finding so lovely a maiden in this wild and lonely spot. And he took her for the goddess of the island and addressed her as one. And Miranda told him timidly that she was no goddess but a simple maiden. And Prospero was very pleased that the two had fallen in love at first sight. And all the same, he wanted to rest their love by putting difficulties in their way. Accordingly, Prospero spoke to Ferdinand harshly. You are a spy. We all know who's a spy, right? And he told him, you have come here to seize the island from me. Seize here means take the island. So let me tell you that you won't succeed. I will tie you up. The only food that you're going to get is a shellfish and roots. And Miranda was in tears. Dear father, she cried, why are you so unkind? Have pity on him. But Prospero did not listen. He found some hard task for Ferdinand to perform. Pile up those logs of wood, he commanded him. And Ferdinand obeyed, but he soon grew tired, for he was not used to do such hard work. And Miranda found him sitting exhausted means tired and fed up by the logs. And little did she know that her father was smiling with delight at her. Invisible to them, he was standing nearby and listening to all that they said. And he was delighted to find the two were so much in love. So, what is your name? Ferdinand asked her. Miranda, she answered, telling him her name, although her father had commanded her not to do so. So, in a fine speech, Ferdinand told her that one day he would be king of Naples and she should be his queen. And this made Miranda weep with joy. And she answered him very simply, I am your wife if you will marry me. And Prospero had heard enough, and he was now sure that they loved each other truly. And he therefore made himself visible and said, with the kindest of smiles, I have overheard all, Ferdinand. I have treated you harshly, I admit, but I'll make up for it by giving you my daughter, he said. Yes, now father continued, I merely wanted to test the strength of your love. I must leave you now, for I have work to do elsewhere. Sit down and talk till I come back. And Miranda and Ferdinand were happy to obey. And Prospero called Ariel to him. Well, my brave spirit, what news of my brother and the king of Naples? He asked him. Ariel laughed. I left them almost out of their senses, he said. They were half dead with hunger and weariness. And I reminded them of their evil treatment of you and told them that they were being punished for it. And you should have seen their faces. They were filled with remorse. What do you mean by filled with remorse? Deeply saddened at their wicked deeds. So they were so miserable that I had to pity them. If you pity them, Ariel, then I, as a human being like themselves, ought to pity them all the more. Bring them here at once, my pretty Ariel, Prospero said. And Ariel flew off obediently with wild music. And Ariel drew the repentant men, that means men who regretted their deeds, felt sorry for their deeds, to Prospero's cave. So with them came kind Gonzalo, who was 12 years before had helped Prospero in his distress. And at first the three men did not recognize Prospero in his magician's robe and long white beard, but when Prospero thanked Gonzalo for saving his life and that of his daughter, they knew who he was. And Antonio instantly begged Prospero's forgiveness, and so did the king of Naples, and Prospero readily forgave them. So they promised to give him back his dukedom. To the king of Naples, Prospero said, I have gifted for you too. So saying, he opened a door and showed them Ferdinand was playing chess with Miranda. Great was the joy of the father and son to find each other alive and well. Let us all forgive and forget. Beautiful lines, isn't it? Let us all forgive and forget, said Prospero. Our troubles are all over now. Prospero then assured his guests that the ship and all the crew were safe, and they were all going to leave for Naples the next morning. So before he left the island, Prospero buried his books of magic deep in the earth and his magic wand as well, and he would not need to use his magic power hereafter. Why should he? He had obtained all that he wished for, and he had brought his brother, the king of Naples, to repentance. So he had received his dukedom back again. And above all, Miranda was going to marry Ferdinand, the king of Naples, heir and the man she loved. And Prospero now turned to Ariel and gave him his freedom. My quaint Ariel, here it means attractive soul, he said sadly, I shall miss you very much, but go, you are now free. And Ariel was filled with delight. Delight means happiness, and he flew away singing this pretty song. Where the bee sucks, there suck I. In the cow's lips well I lie. There I couch when owls do fly. On the bat's back I do fly. After summer's merrily, merrily, merrily shall I live now. And at the blossom that hangs on the bough, so happily. Who was that? Yes, Ariel was singing happily and he flew away. Okay, so that's the happy story of the tempest ended. So now let's check the comprehension questions quickly. Okay, first one, tick the correct options. At one time, Prospero was the very good Duke of Milan, option A. Second one, the mistake that changed Prospero's life was, yes, trusting his brother Antonio, option B. Third one, Prospero tested Ferdinand and Miranda's love for each other by putting difficulties in their way. Option C. Fourth one, Antonio and the King of Naples were remorseful because. For what reason, children? Yes, they had been punished by Prospero's magic and they had realized their mistake. And the last one, before leaving the island, Prospero, yes, buried his books and the magic wand. This is option C. So, children, write your classwork neatly with legible handwriting, okay? And please go through the video sent for your text as well as your grammar part. Okay, children, meet you on the Zoom class. And those who are coming to school, come safely and go back safely. Okay, children, thank you and have a wonderful day.